What it would mean for foreign companies is that, one, it will become easier for their operations in terms of their expansion. The government legislations and the government systems has streamlined, and as we all know that in terms of the IT system in Saudi Arabia, at the government level, it's or attracting foreign investment into the kingdom. The ministries have been working out to relax a lot of laws here.
As we discuss cultural structures and also the incoming of new investment laws, how to decide your legal business structure?
In Saudi Arabia, it's almost the same what we have elsewhere.
Hi there, welcome to Analytix Business Connect podcast. Today we are going to talk about what every businesses need to know before expanding to Saudi market. Today here with us we have Mr. Muhammad Afnas, strategy consultant at Analytix. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Afnas.
Today we are here at the Analytix Business Podcast, where we talk about what companies and businesses need to consider while expanding to the Saudi market.
What business has to consider before entering in Saudi market?
So, when businesses expand to the Saudi market, first of all, we need to understand it's a very complex, large market that we are talking about. Secondly, the legal complexities can be very much difficult and different when companies come from Europe, from Asia, or from the Americas to Saudi Arabia. So, first of all, the legal complexities and the legal regulations is one of the things that we have to look into. The other thing is what basically companies do not consider is the localization aspect. So a lot of cultural differences when it comes to companies from the Europe or companies from the Americas that expand to Saudi. So understanding the cultural differences, the cultural preferences is the most important thing what businesses face challenges and which they need to address at the very first phase. So for me, when you expand to the Saudi market, understand the local regulations, have a very strong understanding and assessment on the cost structures, and fit your businesses to localize to the cultural needs and preferences of the market.
As you told, the businesses that need to consider before coming to the Saudi market, it was very informative. Are there any specific sector restriction for foreigners to invest here?
If you look at the various sectors that is getting opened up in Saudi, in respect to trading, in respect to professional licenses or service businesses, while majority of the reforms have changed and there are a lot of relaxations in the past years, however, if you look at trading industry and professional licenses, there are restrictions in terms of the level of operations that the foreign company need to show, and there are restrictions on minimum capital requirements. Apart from that, certain industries or certain business lines need to also comply with additional licenses in terms of their business operations here.
As the new investment law has been just announced, how it's going to help or how the process has been changed for foreigners investor here?
If you look at the kind of changes that is coming in the kingdom in terms of easing off the foreign investment law, or attracting foreign investment into the kingdom, the ministries have been working out to relax a lot of laws here. Well, in the recent amendment, which was announced in the month of February, we have seen a lot of relaxed terms and relaxed rules and easiness in terms of foreign companies to expand and set up their operation. What it would mean for foreign companies is that, one, it will become easier for their operations in terms of their expansion. The government legislations and the government systems has streamlined, and as we all know that in terms of the IT system in Saudi Arabia, at the government level, it's completely smoothenized. So at this angle and juncture, what I feel is that as we progress into new developments, we would see a lot of attractions coming from foreign companies to flow in with more investments.
As we discuss cultural structures and also the incoming of new investment laws, how to decide your legal business structure?
When you look at the various legal structures that is available in Saudi Arabia, it's almost the same what we have elsewhere. However, for foreign companies, what in our experience of expanding more than 1,500 companies to the kingdom here, limited liability companies are the most easily and flexible option that is available in a subsidiary format for foreign companies. However, there are other options in terms of joint stock companies and closed joint stock companies in Saudi Arabia. But to answer your question, yes, a limited liability company in a subsidiary model is the most easiest manner. However, with a few companies of family houses and companies that are listed across the globe, we see them also choosing with branch operations as well. But in terms of the flexibility, ease of doing business, ease of business operations, we believe that the LLC format is the most easiest and convenient.
How does the new e-government registration is going to simplify the business setup in Saudi Arabia?
Well, Atiya, I mean, if you look at the kind of transformation in terms of the IT levels, in terms of streamlining processes, in terms of streamlining compliances in the kingdom, I think there's a lot of kudos to be given to the government. Yeah, one of the most simplifying or one of the most auspicious things what I have experienced to see the change in terms of government affairs is that we don't have paperwork system in the ministries here. Right from your application to all through completing your government portals, it's completely automated in an IT system. So with the new government regulations and with the easing of the processes, what it's going to be easy for entities coming to the kingdom is that every application walks through a unified commercial register, which all the way automates from the license application to the end execution of getting the government portal approvals. Well, to add on to it, the commercial registration, which is called as the CR here, has been completely unified into one single commercial registration where you can operate in multiple cities. If a company is operating in a city of Riyadh, they can operate in Dammam, in Jubail, in the Neom, and so on and so forth with one single commercial registration. So all these kind of changes and transformation to ease and further reduce the complexities is going to get even more gain and confidence for the foreign companies that pursue to come here.
Has this change in timeline made it more sure?
Yes, this particular change of government portal upgradation happened very recently. It's getting into the rollout phase now. So what we see is that in this particular year, it will be very crucial to see how the revised transformation, revised streamlined operations would benefit the businesses. But what we believe is, yes, it would, because when we bring foreign companies here, they all say the good things about the government portal systems, because there is no need for going to the government offices or the ministry offices for any affairs, unless and until it's a risky or it's a very last mile or it's a very important thing that is not doable in a government portal. But we see that only happening maybe 5% of the chances. So reduction of reliance on the ministries on paperworks to completely making it automated in the IT system is something that attracts a lot in terms of reducing the complexities and reducing the timeline for administrative affairs in a business operation.
What do you think the main challenges or the company faces in Saudi market?
You mean for foreign companies, yeah?
Yes, foreign companies.
As I started in the beginning, when it comes to expansion of a country like Saudi Arabia, the most important challenge is to sort out the legal complexities. Yeah. So sorting out the legal complexities in terms of your expansion and setup of your business here is going to be one of my first and foremost reason what we have understood from our surveys. The next set of difficulties is the most important difficulty, what I feel, where fitting into the culture and the preferences of the market, to understand the local demand and to understand the local fabs and trends is the second one. And thirdly, yes, definitely complying to the localization regulations is something that you have to look into. So for a country where we speak about 70% or odd as the domestic or the Saudi population, it's important to understand the viability and the applicability of the Saudization. So we should not see that as a hindrance to the business growth. Rather, we should see it as an opportunity to inherently blend the culture, the dynamics, and have the Saudization as a priority rather than seeing it as a hindrance. So to sum up, I believe that understanding the legal complexities is the most important thing, which you have to navigate it by approaching the right people around, understanding the local culture by understanding its mechanism is going to be the second most important thing, and thirdly, the Southeast looking at the positive side of it, not treating it as a hindrance, rather converting it as an opportunity to delve in and understand the complexities and the cultural differences what it could come in a Saudi company culture.
Of course, Saudi people are very welcoming.
Pretty much. Our culture always says that it's a welcoming culture. So when we speak to foreign companies, who have been doing business here and then later come on a complete incorporated setup, right? They all say about the hospitality of the Saudi people. It's a warm, welcoming hospitality that we see here. And to understand that, you need to go deep rooted into the economy, into the markets, and then experience it rather than me saying about it. So whomsoever is coming to the Saudi market, I would say ahlan wa sahlan, yeah.
What do you think? What tax policy would impact on market entry decision in Saudi Arabia?
Well, Atiya, I mean, if you look at the tax structures in Saudi, right? I mean, it's almost the similar structures what you have it in the EU, the European Union. While we have the indirect taxes, the corporate taxes, and also along with that, the withholding taxes, so as the transfer pricing and all applicable elements in terms of taxations, we have a very rigid policy here, which I have to say it very upfront. While comparing it with other markets, probably, yes, it's got a lot of tax benefits on a longer term picture when it comes to operating in a special economic zone. There are tax holidays that are being provided. Along with that, there are other many benefits in terms of when you comply with and operate in these special economic zones. There are 6 special economic zones that are announced, and some of them are already functional, if not at the 100 capacity, but at a certain level of capacity. Now, speaking about the taxation structures, yes, corporate tax triggers for a 20%, while there is a indirect tax which is in the form of VAT, which is applied at 15% across majority of the product lines. Yes, in order to balance the budgets, the Saudi government decided to uplift the VAT, which is 5% earlier, to 15%, which was in July 2020. However, if you look at the comparisons with other countries, probably with India or probably with the US or the European markets, I would say it's a much more lesser, because of the reserves what they have or what the government has in terms of the oil is completely benefiting in terms of the taxation policies is concerned. Yes, to answer, yes, it's a rigid policy that we have in taxation. And what I would say is that, you need to comply with the taxation regulations so that you can do your business at peace. Yes, it is rigid, but at the same time, it's not as very rigid as what you see it in the European countries or the Americas.
Informative, whatever you have told about the Saudi market, the laws and regulation, and also the culture. It was very informative. And I would like to ask you one last question. What are the key regulatory would be for new business in Saudi Arabia?
You mean the regulatory compliance, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, as we discussed about the kind of transformation in terms of the IT on the government portal levels and the government affairs, well, when a company lands down its official operations here, there are multiple level compliances to be followed, right from the customs to the managing of the government portals in terms of the WPS, to processing the wage contracts, to managing their vehicles. Everything is in an integrated, well-mannered e-portal system. So in order to have that e-portal managed very efficiently, we need to precisely understand how the functionality of each of the portals are. So there are multiple portals for labor affairs, there are multiple portals, there are portals for vehicle management, there are portals which also give access to individual affairs, where you can manage your passport, your family, your dependents. So, and there are portals that are designated for certain licenses. For example, in terms of the logistics industry, there are specific dedicated portals. So it is important to understand the compliances on each of the segments of the government affairs. So when I speak about compliances, it's unlike other countries. Probably you may have to do a lot of paperwork, a lot of paper filings. We have ruled out that. What's interesting is everything can be controlled from your office by uploading your compliances regularly. Yes, we have to be at radar in terms of managing the compliances, because failing to do the compliances can trigger for suspension of activities or violations and so on and so forth. But it is good because it brings a transparent system for the government, for the businesses in their business conduct. So what I would say is, yes, the regulations and the compliances are it's streamlined, it's compulsory, but at the same time it's very convenient. That's what we feel, and what we hear from companies that come from the region and from across the globe about the government portals here and the systems.
Thank you for answering these questions.
Pleasure.
And it was really lovely to now have you here in our podcast.
Pleasure.
And it was informative, and also to understand Saudi market for the people who are watching this podcast. They might find it very informative. And
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.